We ready to get started? Then
I think we're ready.
is anybody on the line? Or is it just us
It's
here?
just us here.
All right.
And Liz.
All right, then I call the 2020-2021 budget closeout meeting to order. And there's no change to the agenda, so I seek a motion to approve the agenda as presented. So, Ben, second by Jake, all in favor? All right, the next one is the budget transfers. Does anybody want to go over those? Or does anybody have any questions on those?
Food service is looking really good.
It is, this year with the free meals for everyone, we get reimbursed even more than what we would in a normal school year. And that's going to go up this next year even to, I heard at the budget workshop, I know the lunch is going to be $4.50 a meal reimbursed. Breakfast, I think, is $2.40 or something like that. So, yeah, it's looking good. That's about where we carry our balance, but we'll have to spend some of that down, buying some equipment and those kind of things throughout the district. But it does look really good. All of our cash balances are higher than the year before, and that's obviously a win-win for the district for sure. Liz, is that, just real quick on that, the carryover on the 142.25, one of the things that I'd like permission from the board is you'll see that that's not transferred in anywhere. It's just there. Now, a couple things that can happen with those dollars. Either we transfer them into one of these special accounts, or we could do a little bit of both, because that money can go back into 08 supplemental general, and that helps us with the overall mill levy. So what I would like to do, if possible, if the board would allow, is to keep that there until we do our budget, to be able to move that around to different places to help us with the mill levy, keep it steady, or even a little bit below where it has been in the past. Currently, we carry it's a 256,000 is in there now. If we were to put another 140 in there, it gives us another. It's basically almost 500,000 that we don't have to raise taxes on to achieve those dollars. So when we do the budget, we look at mills as it gets down to the final piece of it. We can kind of control the mill levy a little bit better with that extra dollar. So if we don't need it, we won't. If we do, we'll use it. If we need to transfer or not need to, but if we can transfer it out to these other balances if not needed, that's what we'll do. If the board will allow us to, and we can let you know in July when we go over the budget hearing where those dollars ended up being. Is that correct, Liz?
Yes, sir.
I knew it was. I just wanted to ask you.
Yes, sir.
Good budget year, though. Really good budget year. Balances are healthy. If you look at our bond principal and interest budgets or cash balance, that's very healthy. Payment coming up for this next fiscal year will be a little under $5 million. So obviously, that cash balance will hurt that. So we'll be raising generating tax revenue for that for the next year's payment and so on and so forth. So pretty happy with that came out.
Does anybody have any further questions or discussion? All right, if none, I seek a motion to approve the budget transfers in 2020-2021 budget closeout as presented.
So moved.
Christie, go ahead, second. Ben, all in favor?
File. Casey's on.
Okay,
You just come on now.
Casey.
Hi, Casey.
Casey. Okay, up next is the Board of Education vacancy.
Last time we talked at the June meeting that we would come back with some answers. Unfortunately, this meeting allows us to do that a little bit quicker than even a July meeting. So Terry had talked to KSB and got all of the information if you choose to go ahead and fill that spot. There's some things that we have to do ahead of time to do that prior to, or basically to fill unexpired term. So I'll have Carrie kind of talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so if you choose to, want to go ahead and fill it for the unexpired term portion through, January, then we need to pass the resolution that was in your packet. And then we will have to publish a notice in the paper for 15 days prior to being able to make that appointment. But if you choose not to fill it, we can leave it unfilled until, and the election runs its course. And then that person would just come on board in January.
And if I lost my train of thought there for a second. We would have to go through the 15 days, would have to be advertised in the paper if you choose to fill it. And then anybody that wants that position for that unexpired term prior to the election would be eligible to do that through a letter to the board. You would have to look at that, decide, who you would like to fill that spot. So we would have to go.
Within that district. Of
Correct.
course.
So we'd have to go through those processes, officially appoint a person regardless of, how many applications that you might get. But just to alert you that we would probably, with the 15 days from the time we publish that, probably the earliest we could get it in the paper would be Saturday. So 15 days from Saturday would be, July 17th or something like that. So we would probably do a special meeting prior to the, if this is what you choose to do, just so you know, a special meeting prior to the July board, or the August board meeting to appoint the new person, and then they would be on the board in August. Like basically 10 minutes later.
And then, that'd be the option. If we wasn't comfortable paying the people to file, we don't have to appoint it.
That is correct. That is correct. You can let the election take its course.
And has anyone reached out to Hofer, which is he's running for that position, is that correct?
I have, yes, we were going to call him. He called us, and he and I had a conversation, and he is definitely interested in joining now.
Okay.
Do you guys know him?
I know him through rec league and things like that, so.
See, we have preference out of the way.
My thought is if somebody wanted to run for that position, I think I said this in the last meeting, why weren't they on the ballot? He's the only one on the ballot, that's kind of where we're at. He's gonna be there anyway here in 4 or 5 months, so.
Yeah, we just gotta go through the correct
No, I
process.
get that. But, that's kind of where I stand on the deal, that I'm up for any conversation, I guess.
I would agree. I don't think there'll, be anybody interested in filling unexpired term up to January, but we have to give
Understand.
the right based on the statutes.
But if someone does, do they come in for interview on?
We would do that process, and that would be that special meeting prior to the August meeting. So if we have some additional ones, the board would interview those candidates, make a selection, and then we would start our August meeting. I believe we can do that procedure, correct? And as you mentioned, we'll have to pass a resolution if we choose to do that. That does not commit us to appointing someone, that if we don't, the candidates or things change, then, we'll wait for the general election to move forward.
It just commits us to going through the process.
Correct. To publish in the paper.
All right, any further discussion? And I'll open it up for a motion to approve resolution 2021-14 for board vacancy. That sound right?
Yep, that works.
I'll make that motion.
Ben, do I hear a second? favor? I got you this time, Casey.
I will, I'll talk to, Chris as well, let him know what the board had decided, and then, if he still plans on his intent to do that, he'll just submit a letter to the board, and then we'll go through those processes to make it happen, so.
All right, up next is Premier Cooperative Purchasing.
Okay, just a quick rundown through our REAP membership. There's a cooperative purchasing opportunity for us to buy all kinds of goods through approved vendors that are on this Premier Cooperative Purchasing list. And in the municipalities, obviously the cities, you know, those kind of, they're involved in that if they're involved in the REAP membership. This is a good opportunity for us, not only for our regular supplies to look at this, and we're not obligated to purchase this we're not obligated to purchase goods, but if it fits into our vendors and there's some things that we can use, you know, there's anywhere from a 5 to 12% cost savings on just general goods that we may purchase. The biggest piece of this is this could potentially, with vendors as it relates to our bond project, saving materials and costs through that as well that are on the approved list. So if the architect designs something, we're not going to change the design based on any of this. We're not going to change any of the things that we do. But if the materials fit the vendors that we're using, and everybody will get together, and I had Brooks in on the meeting in which we discussed with this individual, you know, and got the vendors list of Brooks, and Brooks feels comfortable moving forward with that, because in the bidding process that they would have access to these pricing. So the companies can look at it and say, oh, I can get drywall for X number of this, so I'll include that in my bid through Premier Purchasing. They feel really comfortable that our number on those bond project materials would be around 8% savings, because it's a national wide thing. So when we consider, I don't know, just say half of the project, I'm just throwing that out there because I don't know, but half the project, say 20 million, and you can save 8% on those materials, pretty huge. Now, you probably won't get that because some of the materials that are in the design aren't on the vendor list, or they don't have those things available. But HVAC units are on there, you know, things like that. So I think it's a no-brainer through our partnership with REAP. We get the opportunity to be involved in this, and I'm excited about it. I think it's really going to help us down the road. We will be able to be involved in the nutrition side of it, getting a national price from EFCO and some of these other places, that US Foods, that kind of stuff. However, we had to sign our agreement before, so we're 1 year out from that because we didn't know something like this really existed on a national stage until we were able to create that partnership with REAP. So, you know, just wanted to make sure that the board was okay pursuing that. We're not obligated to anything.
There's not a minimum purchase.
Nope.
or anything like that.
No, there is nothing. Doesn't cost us a penny to be involved in it. We do not have to choose it. We do not have to take any of the materials. We don't have to bid it a certain way. If there's products that we like that we're using right now from other vendors or whatever, then we don't have to do it. If there's somebody locally that we're purchasing products from, we don't have to move away from them. We can stay with where we're at. So we really have the choices of it's really ball is on our court entirely in this thing. It's just another option.
Is it pretty good quality material?
It's the same material that we would normally buy. And that's the thing, if it's not, and we don't want to, we don't purchase it. That's what I really like about it. So, you know, even just going down to custodial supplies. So, well, I don't know, toilet paper, you know, you can get some bad stuff, right? So you know, if we don't want to purchase some of that stuff, then we just don't. We just continue.
Well, my main concern, we don't have a big lot of vendors in our district, but I don't want any vendors that are in our district to lose our money.
Correct.
Our
You know,
business.
and to be honest, probably a lot of this is gonna go, where we'll see the most benefited in the short term is our bond project that, you know, companies that are doing, or subcontractors that are bidding the jobs
Mhm.
can look at the supply list and say, oh, well, I can bid this lower because I can get this piece of drywall cheaper than I can get it from my supplier or wherever I normally get it. But 9 times out of 10, according to, it's the same supplier, it's just that we're involved in this and we're just getting a cheap price.
It's, yeah. We run the same kind of programs as our business. They're still going through the local vendors a lot of the time, but sometimes not, but.
Yeah, and we get the full choice, you know, like we, like I said, I mean, if we go local here, we're buying a few things and we're not, you know, it isn't thousands of dollars different, then we're gonna stick with what we've done and we want to support our local people. So I think it's an exciting project for us, and one of the questions that I had was, how does Premier then earn their dollars? If it's not from us and we're getting this cheaper price, well, the manufacturers pay them a percentage of the amount of goods, you know, that are purchased. So it's kind of a subcontractor for the manufacturers to go out.
Then Premier also will pay the local vendor at the end of the year.
That called spiff money.
It's, yeah,
I
more or less.
like that.
We're involved in the same kind of program in the construction world, and it works kind of the same way. Manufacturers taking care of Premier's taking care of the local guy. So most of the time, that's the way it works. Not always, but
Yeah.
most of the time.
And, you know, just checking around a little bit, it's obviously a legit program that, you know, all the cities and hospitals, you know, when they build a hospital, then that's where a lot of these cheaper, not cheaper products, but less expensive, same product comes from, how they do that, so.
I've got faith in Simpson that they're gonna make the right decision, whether it's local or.
Absolutely, and that's one of the questions I had, and I did not want to, and they would be at the table with our architects at the beginning, you know, when they start designing. Some of this stuff is already sailed, those products and those projects are going, but they'll be at the table to kind of help through this process. And talking to Brooks, he was surprised at how many vendors that were on the list that he normally uses in construction, which is nice. And that, you know, I think just the important piece is just to be at the table as an option, you know, 8% on a even $100,000 is a lot of money, you know, so hopefully we can recruit some of that and then, you know, save at the end on taxpayers and that kind of stuff, even though our bond is 0 mil increase, but still, you know. Yeah.
All right, so do you need a motion from us or just a consensus from the board?
Just consensus, it's not, I mean, we're just entering into the agreement.
Okay, I think the consensus appears as yes.
Okay. We'll do so then.
All right. Up next, we have personnel. Is there anything we need to touch on in either of those before we go through approvals?
No.
All right, then I seek a motion to approve the resignations as presented.
So moved.
By Christie,
Second.
second by Ben, all in favor? All right, up next we have appointments, so I seek a motion to approve the appointments as presented.
So moved.
Christie,
Sorry.
second by Jake, all in favor? 5-0. All right, is there any other informational items you want to cover while you have us here?
I do not.
All right, then thanks everybody for joining, and